My name's Rebecca Metcalfe, and I'm president of Life Ventures, which is a health and lifestyle retirement planning firm. I'm passionate about health. I've spent over 30 years in the health field, responsible for health promotion programming in community and public health right across the life cycle, including healthy aging. I'm also on my journey of creating my preferred future in retirement, which includes trying to maintain my health and trying to improve my health. I have a great deal of experience in coaching, mentoring people, and working with individuals, groups, and whole populations to facilitate changes that will improve their health and their lives. So I come to this naturally and, as I said, with passion. This afternoon's topic, getting the best of stress, is a selection which I made from a rather long list of health topics which I offer to clients, and all under the umbrella of health equals wealth, invest in yourself. I coined that phrase because it made a whole lot of sense to me. As I was developing Life Ventures and its focus on health, everywhere I looked, there were encouragements to invest money. That successful retirement was all about building your nest egg and investing financially. When in fact, the number one predictor of having the kind of life you want to live in your retirement is not money. Money's good, mind you, but it's not money, it's your health. Because if you don't have your health, you're going to be compromised in terms of your choices of activities, lifestyle, and if you are fallen to ill health, then all the money can do is to help pay for your care. So, I said, doesn't it make sense to, in fact, protect this great asset that you have and put some energy and resources into developing its potential because it is the key to retirement success? So, from my long list of topics, why did I pick for today's presentation, getting the best of stress? This morning we talked about the fact that we're living longer. Most people going into retirement will have a quarter to a third of their lives still in front of them. That's 25 to 30 years. That's a long time. What kind of quality of life will you have? Most people would like to maintain a high quality of life to be able to enjoy all that's available to them. So ideally, the plan then is to slow down the aging process, protect and promote one's health in order to maximize its potential in preventing disease and ill health and disability, so that you can live most of your remaining years in good health and have only a very short space of time at the end. We're all going to die of something, okay? But to have a relatively short space of time at the end of your life in which your activities are compromised. So, stress and how we deal with stress is the number one major ager. There are others: diets high in fats, lack of sleep, sun exposure, not enough exercise. I'm going to deal with that related to this topic as well. But stress is the number one major ager. So that's why I chose to focus in on it. Stress is also linked to a wide variety of illnesses and conditions that produce ill health, which you will see as we move along. So let's start with what is stress. It is simply the body's response to a perceived threat. And these threats can be physical, they can be psychological, they can be social. In days of yore, most of the threats for the human population were predators and famine. I'm going back to the time of when we were hunter-gatherers and warriors, okay? But stress and the sources of stress have changed over time. What are some of life's stressors? There are major events and transitions, and in fact, transition to retirement is one of the most challenging transitions of life, oftentimes because people see it as their final chapter, whereas previous transitions, leaving home, going to university, getting married, and so on, were all approached with great opportunities and building and doing more and adding to the world, and so on. As we talked about this morning, if your approach is a negative one and you look at this as the final chapter, you're going to have more difficulty. It's going to be more stressful. If you look at things in a positive bent, you're looking at opportunity as just, this is the next chapter of my life, with all kinds of opportunities. Long-term worries can certainly cause stress, and related to transition to retirement, as we talked about earlier on today, there are health issues, there are financial issues, there are aging parents, there is our concern about, are we still valuable, can we still contribute? There are concerns about being alone and one's circle of support and so on. Nagging unfinished tasks, like not dealing with our clutter. And procrastination about things can cause stress. And in the society that we live in today, we are under a constant daily bombardment of ongoing chronic stress through things like traffic, computer problems, car problems, multi-demands, multitasking, and the list goes on and on. Well, in fact, Hans Selye, who many of you I'm sure have heard of, we have somebody in the audience who has actually worked with Hans Selye. He's credited with his scientific inquiries regarding the body's reaction to stress, and this is a well-quoted sentence of his, and it's true. It's not stress that kills us, it is our reaction to it and the body's reaction to it. So let's take a look at how our bodies respond to stress. That would be a stress meter on the bottom here. Some stress is good. Okay? Adrenaline flows, that's a chemical that's released in the body when your body senses a stressful situation. What the adrenaline does, it adds a little bit of excitement, it motivates us, gives us energy, keeps us on our game. Athletes and performers like to operate under a little bit of stress. They know what their threshold is. For all of us, we have a different threshold as to when the balance tips from positive to becoming distress and unhealthy responses. And individually, this is influenced by things like genetics, the actual experience itself, the intensity of it, our perspective, our attitudes, and so on. So, I want to talk about the good first, and then we'll go to the bad and the ugly. So let's go to the next slide, which is about good. Our body responds to stress in order for us to fight or escape. And again, this goes back to centuries old, where stressful events were life and death situations, right? Hunters, warriors, and the like. However, in those days, the periods of stress were relatively short. High intensity, but relatively short. The battle was over. The beast was slain. We went home to make a fire, cook our dinner, and relax. Okay, so there were high periods of intense stress followed by expanded periods of low stress, enabling the body to recover and rejuvenate. Today, we experience ongoing stress. We're going in many directions, being pulled in different directions all at once in our fast-paced society. So when these stressors are always present, what happens is you constantly, or your body constantly feels as though it's under attack or getting ready for attack. And so consequently responds by releasing adrenaline, and adrenaline releases 100 other different chemicals in our body that enable the body to respond to these threats. But this reaction stays turned on. It never turns off. And so what's the result of that? Well, if we go to what happens in the body in terms of what gets increased when you're under stress, your heart rate increases, your breathing rate increases, muscle tension increases, blood pressure increases, secretion of insulin increases, and blood flow to the brain, lungs, heart, and muscles increase. And these are all necessary in order to equip your body to address the immediate threat. However, in the long term, increase in all of these things without letdown can result in diseases and illness. On the other side of the coin, there's also interesting things happening in terms of what's not happening in the body while your body's responding to stress. Every amount of work and energy in your body goes towards dealing with the immediate threat. Those things that are not immediately required shut down. So, for example, your stomach, your intestines, your kidneys shut down. All repair of blood vessels, construction of blood cells, and blood volume all shuts down. Your brain ceases to be able to function thinking long-term or in complex problem-solving mode. It is focused on the immediate threat. And so, our immune systems as well. And so our immune systems get ready for major trauma and quit actually trolling our bodies for things like cancer cells. Does this sound good? No, it doesn't. So in fact, if this isn't addressed, next slide, I'll put all these things down here, not to go and discuss each of them, but to show you the impact in terms of the wide range of illnesses that are linked to unaddressed stress, conditions, and behaviors that can cause ill health in people. So not only cardiovascular illnesses, but gastrointestinal, respiratory, cancers, headaches, arthritis, and behaviors that are as I say, conditions that lead to ill health, such as abuse, alcohol and drug use, and so on, violence and aggression. Okay, now it gets worse. Let's go to the ugly. Stress can shorten your telomeres. Shortened telomeres equal potentially a shortened life. So what are telomeres? Here's the X chromosome. So telomeres are the tiny bits of DNA that cap the ends of chromosomes. They naturally get shorter with age, right? And every time a cell divides, they get a little bit shorter. They're likened to the plastic caps on the ends of shoelaces. And so what telomeres do is they prevent the ends of the chromosomes from fraying, as shoelaces do when that cap comes off, and bonding with other chromosomes, and eventually causing cell death and failure to produce further stem cells and so on and so on. So this is actually results in cell death in your body and lack of replacement in the long term. Okay, well, this is down at the cellular level. Now, our bodies do have an enzyme which works to replace and rebuild telomeres. It's called telomerase, okay? Excuse me. So our telomeres actually continue to shift in their length over the course of our lives. As I say, generally they're getting shorter with aging, but in terms of doing things to deal with your stress and promote your health, you can actually add further growth to them. Here's interesting research data. People who are 100 years of age and over who have been tested, had their telomeres tested, it's generally a blood test to do this, sometimes blood and saliva, will show telomeres that are the same length of people several decades younger, naturally, okay? Research data has also been collected on certain groups of people under prolonged stress and shows that their telomeres are much shorter than people a couple of decades older, okay? So this all has to do with our chronological age and our physiological age may not be the same thing. In terms of the quality of life we're going to have, it's directly related to your physiological age. Anyway, the wave of the future is getting more research data related to this. There's still a great deal to do. There are already a handful of clinics in Canada. There is one in downtown Toronto, which is where we are for the people watching from other places, who are offering telomere testing. Entrepreneurs are also starting to market products that are telomerase activators. And none of these have been approved, of course, but it doesn't prevent creative entrepreneurship. Anyway, this may well be the wave of the future, and we may be having our telomeres tested as regularly as we have our blood pressure checked. But interesting to know. If you want to read more about this, Maclean's did a feature article on this in 2013, and there are a variety of other articles available if you want to search for those as well. So let's go to the next slide. So the goal then is, we know that aging is not a disease, but aging, disuse, and misuse of our bodies and not managing our stress can certainly put us at higher risk for many diseases. The goal then is to slow down the deterioration of the body at the cell level that results from the gradual changes of aging and maximize our years of life, as I mentioned at the beginning, without disease, sickness, and disability. Okay, so we've got to learn to manage our stress. It's not going to go away, but we have to learn to manage it. Okay, next slide. Well, big surprise. Step one, identify if you are stressed. Some people are so stressed and have been demonstrating symptoms that are clearly apparent to other people for so long, they don't even realize they're stressed. This isn't as simple as it might sound, because that's just the way they're used to going about their lives. So, just in case you're wondering, going on to the next slide, we've got a long list of things here, and again, my intent is not to go through each of these, but symptoms of stress can be physical, they can be emotional, they can be social. So anything from irritability, changes in sleep patterns, difficulty concentrating, getting into arguments when you don't usually do so, restlessness, loss of interest, loss of energy, and so on. Let's go to the next slide. Here's all the physical signs and symptoms. You can read them for yourself, okay? But so many people put up with these things day in and day out and just think of them as the new normal. It might be the new normal, but I can assure you that it's not healthful or helpful in terms of your aging, your health, and enjoyment of your life. Okay, step 2, identify the stressor. Sometimes it's patently obvious and sometimes it's not. Generally, stress is related to triggers in our lives or changes in our lives. So if you had difficulty sleeping for several nights a couple weeks ago, what you need to do in terms of identifying the stressor is to go back to a couple weeks ago, talk with your spouse, talk with your friend, try to get to the bottom of what was going on in your life. And this could be physical environment. You had to go downtown Toronto to Front Street 3 days in a row, and you had to sit in traffic for 2 hours each way. It could be social relational. Someone's challenging a decision that you made at work and telling everybody that you're incompetent. It could be financial. A bill has arrived unanticipated and you're not sitting with the cash flow. It could be organizational. There's been a change in the scope of your job responsibilities. It could be a life event, a death in the family. Actually, happy events are also stressful, such as getting married. That's a very stressful event. It could be lifestyle choices that you've made, such as pigging out on fast food 3 days in a row, which is probably not the underlying cause, but you did that because you were stressed about something else. So continuing to ask why till you get to the root cause. Or your stress could be physiological, and our stress levels go up if we are ill, right? If we are in pain, if we are in discomfort, and so on. Then there are particular things, as we discussed this morning, that are concerns and can be stressful in terms of aging. And, health, our worth, how we're going to fill all of our time. Or for some of us, we've gotten ourselves so busy that we have no times for ourselves and our life is totally unbalanced and we're just go, go, go. There's no downtime. Concerns about relationship changes and loneliness. And yes, money. Okay, step 3, managing your stress. There's actually a typo on this slide. So the reason for the stress, it's always because whatever is being demanded of us in the situation, we do not have the resources to meet. Okay, so a few examples of that might be. So it's taking a look at what are the demands in the situation and what are your resources, and then you figure out, aha, that's what I have to grapple with. So it might be, I need $1,800 to cover this repair on my furnace, and to handle this event, I have $1,000, and I have no more money coming in until next month, and the temperature's dropping. Okay? It might be, in this situation event, in order to go on this vacation, I need my health to be better. In this situation, I have an illness that presents this kind of problem, and so on, and so on, and so on. Again, it gets you to sit down and think through the situation as to what is the cause, what is the demand, and what's missing for me. Okay, and then we get into strategies, selecting an appropriate strategy and applying it, which can be a combination of things: addressing symptoms, addressing the stressor, pursuing a healthy lifestyle. Let's talk about addressing symptoms. Some people think that in order to address their stress, they need to get away to an idyllic setting in an exotic locale to relax and recharge. Nice if you can, not necessary, because there are many things that you can do today, now. We're going to talk about some of them right here and on forward. So next slide. Okay, if you take nothing else from this session this afternoon, take what I'm going to explain to you about belly breathing. Is that term, how many people have heard of that term before? A few hands going up, okay. It's also known as diaphragmatic breathing, yoga breathing, and it's also breathing that is used in meditation. Why do I want to talk about it here? It is a very easy key to managing stress anywhere, anytime, and anybody can do it, and it doesn't cost anything, okay? And I'm going to actually explain to you how to do this. What it does is it relaxes your blood vessels, it dilates them, makes them larger. So there's more blood flow that can go through, which means, and the way you're going to breathe is you're going to fill your total lung field, and so you're going to maximize the oxygen in your blood to go to your tissues to work for you, okay? Most of us breathe in our chest. We breathe, our chest expands. We breathe out, it's down. When we breathe normally through our chest, we only use 1/3 of our lung field. 2/3 left to go. In between our chest cavity and our stomach cavity is a domed muscle, which is called the diaphragm. Okay? So instead of, and when we breathe into our chest, we're actually using a lot of muscles in our neck and our shoulders. Okay? When we breathe into our belly, we are using our diaphragm. It's a powerful muscle, and it's underworked by a lot of people. And what it promotes, as I say, is using 100% of your lung field, better blood flow, better oxygen flow. And what this results in is amazing results over time in terms of addressing anxiety, having a calming effect, as well as a wakefulness. So it's as simple as this, and then there are variations. I'm going to describe it. There are many YouTube videos that you can watch in terms of demonstrations of this technique. And more so, don't just watch, start doing it. Okay. So, what's this about? First of all, we're going to breathe in through our nose. A lot of people breathe through their mouth all the time. Okay, noses are for breathing. So we're going to breathe in through our nose. Okay, and it's slow inhalation in, and it's then you can breathe out through pursed lips through your mouth, again, slowly. Right? Now, in order to get the knack of this, a lot of people like to start by doing it on the floor. So you can lie on your back on the floor with your soles of your feet planted on the floor and your knees bent a little bit in relaxed mode. But you can also do this sitting in a chair. What you want to make sure is that you don't have any belts or constricting things around your waist that are going to prevent your belly from expanding, because that's what the goal is here. Okay, so you'll put and the reason for putting a hand on your chest and a hand on your belly is so you actually get the feel of where the air is going, not that you need to do that on an ongoing basis, okay? So instead of breathing in, where I'm breathing into my chest, that would be, you can see this hand move, I'm going to use my diaphragm and breathe into my belly. Chest isn't moving, belly is out. And then when I breathe out, I'm going to suck in that belly. And again. Chest is not moving. Okay? That's all it is. Once you get the knack of the technique, ideally, what you want to do is breathe in for 4, and out for 8. Repeat it at least a cycle of 4 times. And then a more advanced technique, which is used in yoga and meditation, is called the 4-7-8. Once you're comfortable with this method, is breathe in for 4 through your nose, hold your breath for a count of 7, which would be not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you can't hold your breath any longer, obviously breathe out, right? But the goal is, you don't want to add more stress. You can't get your breath. Okay, so in for 4, hold for 7, and out through pursed lips for 8. A cycle is 4 times doing that. Once you get into this, you would be surprised what a difference it makes if you're stuck in traffic at the light and you're already looking at being late for wherever you're going, right? So instead of cursing and carrying on and inching ever closer to the car in front of you in the hope that that might encourage them to bang into the person in front of them and give you an extra foot towards your destination, just breathe. I like to do this technique as soon as I get out of bed in the morning. Just a minute. The first thing I do is make coffee. Then, okay, while I'm sitting waiting for my coffee, I like to do this. It's centering. It really is. The other thing I like to combine it with in the morning that's on this list is 10 minutes of, and we are all busy. Yes, we're all busy. We're all doing all kinds of things. We're all very stressed. But is to, before I start my day, is to put in 10 minutes of meditation. No, I don't have time to do half an hour. That'd be nice. I don't have time. Meditation has for a long time been core to many cultures and many religious and spiritual practices. It is now mainstream in terms of stress management. It's being done in executive teams in the boardroom. It's being done with kids learning it in kindergarten in our public schools. It has merit in terms of focus, relaxation, combined with the breathing, can have incredible results on cardiovascular health. Some years ago, as well as our pulmonary health, and can have a more profound effect than any of the key drugs to treat anxiety. But you have to do it. And the practice has to be repetitive. So but anything's better than nothing. So anyway, we start there. So yes, the key is to get into using this as a technique on a regular basis. But I will tell you, I'm living proof. And you would think with all my background in health and nursing, I would know how to breathe. Okay, as recently as the year was 2000, so that's 15 years ago. I should have known by then. I had no idea. I went for my regular physical, and as it turned out, my results came. I had elevated blood pressure. What? Shock, of course. How could this be happening to me? And a certain amount of denial, too. This couldn't possibly be right, da-da-da-da. So I did a 24-hour blood pressure monitoring thing. Yeah, I have elevated blood pressure. And then I went for all kinds of cardiovascular tests and so on and so on. To make a long story short, it was put down to my stress level in terms of my work. High-paced career, etc. Oh. I'm not a drug-taking person. I wasn't interested. I consulted with a colleague and friend of mine who's a physician, but also had long been practicing in yoga and meditation. And that's not why I called him. I just called him because it was somebody I trusted, and wanted to chat about this. And he said, Rebecca, you need to learn how to breathe. That day I started in my office, twice a day, morning, afternoon. I shut the door, didn't answer the phone, didn't deal with technology at all. I sat and did my diaphragmatic, my belly breathing for 5 to 10 minutes. And then in the evening when I got home, and also started doing it in the morning. What I can tell you is over the course of a month, a bit more, my blood pressure returned to normal. And I wasn't otherwise doing anything else different. So I am living proof that, that you can get significant results from this. Okay. So if you take nothing else, take that concept. And I'd be happy to work with anybody after the session's over in terms of actually practicing. We're going to focus in on physical activity in the session. I just wanted to provide some other options in terms of relaxation techniques for recharging, repair, recovery. So progressive muscle relaxation techniques work, as do many different types of massage, meditation. We've talked about guided imagery or visualization techniques. All of these, there's lots of literature about them. There are lots of online resources for them. And yoga, also great in terms of combines with physical activity as well as the meditation and the breathing. Okay, now, scuba diving is one of my passions, and I call it my active meditation. And I can tell you that from the time I learned this breathing and I started doing it in my scuba diving, my air supply lasts a whole lot longer, and I'm much more relaxed underwater and able to deal with any situations that require that. Scuba diving combines also physical activity as well as focus, and it's just so quiet to just hear your bubbles. That's why I call it my quiet space. Anyway, some other recharge relaxation techniques, just as resources. I'm not giving a handout today and so on, but the list is endless. We've heard from other people about how beneficial pets can be. We go to the next slide, and my pal at home is Juno. And we like to have treats on the kitchen counter, and we've been roommates and friends for over 36 years. Yeah, so longer than many marriages, yes. And I got him, so he's 37 now. Yeah, so, and it's like having a toddler forever. Yeah, to have a parrot, it really is. Anyway, because they're very bright, but they have the emotional adjustment about, so they're about the brightness of a kindergarten age child, but they have the emotional adjustment of a 2-year-old. So very interesting, challenging, lots of fun. Okay, anyway, so you've got that list, and the slides will be available for you to look at. But it's whatever works for you as well. But again, you got to do it. We know what some of us do, and am I guilty of this? Have I ever done any of this? Of course. Next slide. Unhealthy ways of dealing with stress. Any of those things been part of your life? Ever? Okay. Again, the overindulgences, the dependency on food, drugs, alcohol. This is interesting. Filling up every minute of the day to avoid dealing with problems. It's a sense, it's kind of a denial, right? Procrastination, right? About your clutter. Anything else? And of course, taking your stress out on others. So none of those are good, right? Okay, so we got to address the stressor then. Okay. Well, this isn't rocket science, but it bears going over. So, you got to problem solve what you're doing. If the demands of the situation outweigh your resources, you got to problem solve through that. And here's where we need to keep, so define it, analyze it, explore solutions, and so on. And this is where keeping in touch with your reality is really important. What we tend to do when we're stressed with situations and we got many other things going on is, let's say you've got a car problem, and so this means you've got to take your car in for servicing, okay? But before you know it, it's no longer, in terms of our heads, our monkey minds, as I say, and how we dramatize things in our lives, also because we're under stress from other things, so we're not thinking properly, is before you know it, the implications are about something you can't get done at work because you got your car, somebody who you haven't seen in 6 months because you've been so stressed that you finally made a date to get to dinner with, you can no longer do, and oh my God, this is just impacting my whole life. It's no longer just the car has a problem. So this is where, as I say, keeping things down to what really is the issue, and if you need to, talking to somebody about this. Again, our perspective plays in here. 10% is the stressor. This is about the embellishment, but 90% is our perspective in terms of how drastic, how bad it is, okay? And how we manufacture and embellish it, and before you know it, it's a much bigger problem than it really fundamentally is. Okay. As far as procrastination is concerned, sometimes those of us, such as I, recovering perfectionist, procrastinate because you can't do it perfectly. So I'm not going to start at all. Sometimes people procrastinate because of fear of failure. Because, well, if I tried it and didn't work, if I failed, well, then I'd feel worse, right? Anyway, so this is can be very challenging, but there are lots of books about this, including The Idiot's Guide to Procrastination. There are websites, there's counseling available, and so on. Just left, you'll just continue to procrastinate. Also, communication is a key to addressing stressors, and instead of targeting other people and lashing out at them, you can talk about you. I feel this way, I feel overwhelmed, I feel angry, I feel whatever, I'm going through this. And also learning to say no. Because in terms of, there are many people who inadvertently end up adding a whole lot of stress to our lives simply because we said, yes, I'll do that with you. Yes, I'll do that for you. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that in the next couple of weeks. Yes, yes, yes. And what happens is we then get ourselves overloaded. So learning to say no. All right, next. This morning we talked about attitude configuring. Keeps coming up, doesn't it? But it's true that keeping a positive attitude is important because life tends to respond to our outlook. Have you noticed that? So life shapes itself to meet our expectations oftentimes. And it's just not about weathering the storm and getting through the immediate, but it's about learning to dance in the rain. Okay? It's dealing with what is and putting a positive spin on it. And part of that is learning how to laugh. Laugh at life, laugh at yourself. We lose that as we age. Do you realize that children laugh hundreds of times a day? The maximum that adults laugh, generally speaking, is 12 times a day. And that's on a very laughable day. Okay. Do you realize that 10 minutes of laughter equals, in terms of positive effects for your health, 100 rows, as in rowing? Okay. So, learning to laugh and lighten up. Next one is me trying to do that, where I'm channeling my inner bunny. There we go. Have fun. All right, finally, pursuing a healthy lifestyle. This morning, I mentioned this, that 70% of aging after 50 is governed by our lifestyle, and 50% of the so-called diseases of aging and serious accidents can be virtually eliminated by learning how to live younger. So, what constitutes a healthy lifestyle? All of these things do. I've bolded stress management because we're talking about that. Talked about positive attitude a couple of times today, as of other people. And we're going to move into a focus on physical activity. It doesn't mean these other things are not important. It's just we've got limited time left in this session, and I'd love to chat with you about all of those. But right now, we're going to focus in here. Next, physical activity. If there is a magic bullet to slow aging, reduce the incidence of age-related chronic diseases and serious health conditions, it is physical activity. Honestly, here are all the things that these are proven results. Slows aging, effective stress management, positive mental health, builds bones, helps reduce body weight, keeping that in check, facilitates your mobility and your independence, prevents diseases of aging, all the itises, okay? Provides fitness, strength, and vitality for life. Wow, you say, well, I don't have time to do enough physical activity to do that. We'll get to that. Next slide. What physical activity reduces your risk of high blood pressure, which can put you at risk for other heart diseases, stroke, type 2 diabetes, colon cancer, falls and injuries. Falls constitute the largest, 90% of premature disability and compromised lifestyles in elderly people is falls. Okay? Falls can almost be totally prevented. Okay? A lot of falling is caused through, well, it could be environmental things that people, can trip over and so on, but it's about poor core strength, it's about poor flexibility and balance, excuse me, and it's about poor muscle strength. And so falls and injuries, osteoporosis for postmenopausal women, builds bone density, physical exercise, addresses overweight and obesity, depression, and premature death. So, what are we talking about? Physical activity is a moving experience. Yes, you have to move. And when I'm talking about it, I'm talking about three kinds. We're talking about aerobic activity, which is really building your endurance, okay? And building your cardiovascular capacity. Strength training is about building muscle and contributing to stronger bones. You may not be aware, but from the time that we are in our late 20s, our muscles begin to lose size, weight, and some fibers, which results in reductions in strength, tone, and endurance, and musculoskeletal weakness, stiffness, and decreased flexibility. That's in our late 20s, that starts. So by the time you have reached 65, you have lost well over 1/3 plus of your muscle in your body. And when you lose muscle, guess what it's replaced with? Fat. Okay? And flexibility and balance, also very important. Plus, strength training, flexibility, and balance, these will make the difference in terms of your continued independence in your life. These things will enable you as you age to be able to get up out of the chair by yourself, to get off the toilet by yourself, okay? And when you go to old age homes and you see folks shuffling around. Okay? They may have an illness or disease that is contributing there, but oftentimes the reason for that is they don't have the muscle strength to pick up their feet. Okay, research shows, oh, there I am. I need to do all these things in order to fuel my passion here. Scuba diving again. There we go. Can we go back to the other one for a minute? Studies in nursing homes. These are for bedridden patients and patients in wheelchairs, as well as those who are able to walk in some sort of fashion, by introducing strength training exercises with physiotherapists for about 10 minutes a day over several weeks shows marked improvement in people's capacities. So it's never too late to start. So you can't have the attitude about, oh, I should have started doing that, whatever, it's too late now, I'm into damage control. No, not at all. Okay, so next slide, yes. So I need to do all of these things in order to maintain my passion. And scuba diving in ideal conditions is not all that demanding, but it's a sport that can get extremely demanding physically and psychologically. Very fast, and the demands can be very, very great. So you can't be complacent about this. So that keeps me engaged in doing this. And if you think you need to have a lot of expensive equipment and spend a whole lot of money, we'll go to the next slide. No. Here's a small fellow I met in a village in Indonesia, where obviously there was a high level of poverty. And yet, he was so joyful, and he was so proud of these weights that he had made from tin cans and with some wood branches in the middle and filled with some cement. Okay? You too can use soup cans for weight training. Okay? So, all right, just making the point. Okay, so how much is enough in terms of exercise? We're not talking about training for the Olympics here, okay? Now, in terms of the Public Health Agency of Canada, as well as Surgeon General in the United States, what we're looking at is moderate to vigorous aerobic activity, 150 minutes per week. It can be done in 10-minute intervals. So you need to do your exercise, and what's easiest? Walking, okay? You don't need to run. You don't need to get on a treadmill. Just get out and walk, okay? And if you do 10 minutes, that counts. If you do 10 minutes 3 times a day, that's 30 minutes towards 150, okay? So this is doable. It is really doable, but you actually have to do it, okay? And so you start at a pace. What are you looking at? You want to, well, when you start, you're going to be going slower, right? So you warm up and you get going. And if you can, sweat a little. That's moderate intensity, or a lot in terms of vigorous intensity. Or you might want to do an interval of a couple of minutes where you really try and walk fast, and then you pull back, right? And to a casual pace for a couple of minutes. And that's called interval training, has a term, whatever. But just get started. And we say anything is better than nothing. You want to get to be breathing harder, you know? So the kind of walk that you have with your friend where you're discussing everything that went on that week and so on and is probably not fast enough, because you want to get your breathing up a bit so that you're breathing hard. And then what you want to work towards is activity that's in what we call your target heart rate for 20 minutes of the 150 minutes. So in fact, you can do this in short spurts and then come back to a more casual pace. So if you're 65, it would be 220 minus 65 times 0.8. So that would be, you want to get your heart rate up to 124 beats. Okay. For 20 minutes, at least 3 times a week. That's your target goal. That's not where you start. That's down the path. And then strength training, 30 minutes 2 times per week is your ideal. If you did it 10 minutes 2 times a week, it's better than nothing. The more you do, the more you benefit. And so how are you going to do all these things? All right? Well, there's an app for that. There are many apps that will help facilitate your training, your tracking, and your exercise. There are online programs, as well as if you still have it, you can still buy DVDs. You know, there are strength training DVDs. No, you don't need to join a gym and pay a lot of money. In terms of strength training and development of core strength, use of resistance bands, very cheap. You can buy them at sports stores. They often come with packaging that demonstrates the exercises. Also, if you go online, there's lots available to guide you in that regard. As we age, in terms of issues with joints, low resistance exercises are preferable to high impact. So I do an aquafit class twice a week, which is excellent. It has an aerobic component. It has a strength training component. It also has a flexibility component to it. And once you get into walking, I've done it for a couple of years, although not every week. It's more seasonal. We're just starting up again now. Nordic pole walking. Very mainstream in Europe. It's only catching on here. Please do take some training, or at least watch a video about the technique. I see so many people with the poles out walking, they might as well leave them at home because they're not doing it right. Same with strength training. You need to learn how to strength train properly. Okay? So again, you can go online. Or, there are personal trainers, there are affordable programs at community centers throughout our communities. There are programs through the district school boards throughout our communities, not just in physical activity, but in meditation and in yoga. Oh yes, Tai Chi, also excellent for balance and relaxation training. There are also personal trainers who focus on the 50-plus age group. I can connect you with a couple of those folks if you're interested in going that route. If you're joining a gym, make sure you take the time to get a proper introduction, pay for the personal trainer for the hour or 2 hours in terms of developing a program for you in strength training, and learn how to use the weights properly. Like the Nordic pole walking, you can go and do all this stuff and not get any impact that's intended, or on the other side of the coin, you can injure yourself. Okay, I think it's time to close. So the message is, it's never too late to start, to improve your lifespan and your health span. And if you don't do it now, when? All of these strategies and activities will help you to be in better control of your life and your future, have realistic expectations, facilitate your problem solving of your day-to-day challenges, and are keys to stress management, and perhaps the most important ingredient to living a happy, healthy, and rewarding life. Thank you so much.